Whenever you're ready. Oh, you're ready. Hello there. I have this coil spring. And we're gonna make a letter opener. Stay tuned.
Well, you can tell by the way I use my walk, I'm a woman's man. No time to talk. Music loud, women walk, being kicked around since I was born.
Hello and welcome back to another fine episode. And tonight we are going to make, as previously stated, a letter opener. And I know what you must be thinking. Why don't you just open the letter like a savage and just rip it to shreds and then get the paper out? Because we're fine, civilized people. That's why. And we just don't do that kind of stuff. So we're going to take a piece of steel, this round coil spring, and we're going to smack it while it's hot. And we're going to draw that sucker out into a nice square shape. Now I'm looking to get this thing long and skinny, because we're going to do a blacksmith style knife, a blacksmith knife style, where the handle does little twisty doos, but no twisty don'ts. We don't want that. So only twisty doos. But it takes a lot of work to get this round bar stock coil spring to become square and skinny. Now the tongs that I'm using here is a pair that I've built before. I made these out of it came in a kit, and you kind of forge them up a little bit. They're blanks, and you forge them to your liking, and they work. However, they don't do the best at clamping. They're a little on the thin, lighter side of things. They seem to be holding all right, but here after a while, things get a little crazy. I do switch back to my heavy-duty tongs, the wolf jaw tongs, and that is what happens. You're grabbing round material with these flat jaws, and the fireworks be flying. Things be going crazy in here. So in the words of that one rapper guy, drop it to the flow. I did decide to draw this out and to do the handle first before I do the blade. And I don't know why I did it like that. It worked out fine. There's nothing wrong with it that I can tell, but I don't know if it'd be easier or better to do the blade first. as I taper this out, I try to think about the distance. I try to picture it, because I did a drawing, a little sketch of what I'd like to see, but it wasn't to the full scale. So I kind of look at this thing as it's getting drawn out, and I kind of try to picture it in my head when I do that first bend and scroll kind of a thing to make that handle. How thick do you want it? Where do you want to bend it at? How much material do you need for the blade? So this thing, you gotta make sure you have enough material for the blade. You don't want the handle to be too fat. You don't want it to be too skinny. You want it to be, fatter at the beginning and then kind of get skinnier towards the end. And it's got to be a good transition. So a lot of those things are coming into play here, kind of while you're drawing it out. You don't want to make it too short, or else you don't have the proper bends, and you don't want to make it too long, or else you got too much, but you can end up cutting some off, but then you might not have enough material for the blade. So it's all kind of a weird deal. You just pound it and you kind of stare at it for a minute and you think to yourself, did I just fart, or is that a shark? But you pretend to look at the handle. I don't know, it's a trade secret.
Almost like I know what I'm doing. I found this crossbeam head at a yard sale, and I said, I must have it. But it didn't have a handle. Oh no. So I made this handle out of a baseball bat. Put her to the test today because I'm pounding some serious stuff.
So I switched my hammer to Thor's jeweler hammer here. This massive thing. No, I got this little one out just to. It's easier to manipulate some of the finer movements and stuff. Just trying to get things straightened out. I think that bigger one is a little overkill, and I find it a little easier to use that smaller one to really do some of the finer details.
We got the handle tapered out. I think it's long enough. So we're gonna do our first little swoop and then come around doing that little swoopy swoop for our handle. And then we're gonna start working on the blade.
This is where the narcolepsy took over, and I just fell asleep apparently. Oh, we're awake. Now I've got to compare my handle to what my drawing looked like. Well, the handle's just about done. Minor touch-ups still, but we're gonna get started on the blade. We're gonna make a double-edged spear point blade for this thing. So I drew that blade section out a little longer than I wanted to, and I had some space in between the blade and the handle, and I thought, what better to fill this space than do a little twist. So we're gonna grab our massive rusty pliers, little channies, and we'll do a little one twist, one full, line her up, make sure she's real nice. Bada bing, bada boom. And there she is, looking like a twist. Ooh, baby.
So we be keeping it twisted. Hey, I'm just gonna flatten the handle out a little bit, little minor touches. Handle's a little crazy. Straighten it all out, and then we're gonna do some grinding. Oh yeah. Never right now. Do we dare quench? Let's do it. Yeah, didn't warp it. Looking good.
Now here's the moment of truth. We got her slightly sharpened. Now this is one of the bills here, so it's designed to open smooth as butter. But this is a paycheck, and they always make this one a little harder. Success!